Dr. Stephanie Brown is a licensed psychologist, author, researcher, consultant, and lecturer in the field of addiction for more than 40 years. She's an internationally recognized expert on treatment of addiction and has written 11 books on addiction and recovery. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So I'd like to start with a general question because I know that much of your work has been on the topic of attachment. So can you explain what secure attachment means and why it's important for childhood development?
My work has included attachment always. It's such an important concept. The bigger framework is development, child development, human development, and attachment is a core grounding piece of any human development. And I also then have defined attachment or addiction as an attachment disorder. So I just want to make that link ahead of time and as we talk about attachment in more general ways. In child development, attachment is seen as the cornerstone. This is in psychology. No arguments here, really. Attachment to a mother, attachment in utero, that means that the fetus, the growing fetus within the mother, and then the child's birth into the world, that attachment is secure. If it's a secure attachment, even if it's not, people survive. But that a secure attachment means that the beginnings of reciprocity, all the cornerstones that will allow a child to grow up in the context of a relationship with its birthing mother, with a parent, with people in the world later. What that means is that it's trusted. A secure attachment means the communication lines will be open, and of course, there's no language for a fetus in speaking language, verbal. That's down the road, but that the bonds of relationship, which include sensation, touch, communication, the core, all start in those before birth and then into birth and into the world. The child is exploring its world, and there will need to be for a secure, healthy development. A child needs to have the sense that if I cry, that figure, most people say mother, father, the attachment figure, will correctly understand the cry. Oh, it's a wet diaper. It's a cry for milk. It's a time for closeness. But that this pair becomes one in that communication pattern. The cries will be understood. The mother figure needs to be, for secure attachment, needs to be available, able to be present, able to be attentive to that infant. So totally, the presence, the attention, emotionally available. And very often that's not happening, as we know, in the world today.
Okay, so let's talk about the world today. And obviously, our focus is taking a look at how technology impacts wellness, right? So let's jump to that. How do you think technology affects attachment?
Well, it's a big picture. It's a very big picture. And I have, there's no one right answer here. There are some negatives. There are plenty of negatives. And I don't know about the positives in terms of what we're talking about here, the actual bond. And if we're saying, because it's the quality of an attention
Mhm.
that quality and that ability for the child to trust. And what we say, so complicated. Oh, it's so complicated.
Mhm.
um, that if technology is comes into, let's just say, an infant parent uh, process, uh,
Mhm.
a feeding, a moment, all kinds of activities during the day, a holding, uh, the child and the mother will build what kind of relationship they have, and what will be the expectations
Mhm.
in that bond. And if there's a computer in there, if there's a tech, a phone, or if mother is on a device as she is nursing, feeding, that will become part. What's the quality?
Mhm.
I could not say, where's the mother's attention? I asked that question, but I won't say it's a third party. It sure can be. So you
Mhm.
want to be paying close attention. Where's the attention?
Mhm.
Where's the sense of priority in the bond? What is happening with the technology in that moment?
Mhm.
And it certainly can be varied. Lots of well, there's lots of variety that's out there.
Mhm.
I say let's have checkpoints there for everybody. That the moments with an infant, moments with growing children, need clear parental attention, listening,
Mhm.
uh, your presence, and without interruption
Mhm.
from technology to take a call or to there needs to be experiences of that.
A couple things come to mind as you're speaking, and I know you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember from when my kids were babies, there one of the recommendations obviously was eye contact, right, for attachment, right? That's very
Right,
important. So if you're looking at your phone or multitasking, I mean, that baby is going to look for eye contact during those
right,
moments, and right. And then the second thing I've heard a lot from experts is uh, as kids get older, and even if they're playing independently, they're going to look to you for feedback, and if you're
right.
not making that eye contact back, that is a loss of attachment. Am I on the right track with those
Oh,
units?
absolutely, absolutely. And you're on a track to, again, to for me to be more specific as well. The the elements, your presence, the attention, the everything, and the eye contact.
Hmm.
Uh, Absolutely. All of those pieces go into that presence,
Hmm.
and any kind of interruption
Hmm.
will be felt.
Yeah.
If absolutely. So definitely problems, and I think definitely global recommendations, as such as paying attention to the primacy of your bond, your time, your presence with
Hmm.
an infant at
Yeah.
that point. Absolutely.
It's almost, it makes me think of there's a new study that was out about screen time in very young children, infants, toddlers, having an effect on their development. And the recommendations are going further than they did before, which is basically not recommending any screen time for kids under 2.
Right.
I'm generalizing, like depending on the World Health Organization or the Academy of Pediatrics, it's a little bit different, but it almost seems like we should think of a similar recommendation as parents as well, right? Like almost if we can mirror that on our end, it seems like it would be healthier for that child as well, right? Does
No question.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
no question.
yeah.
Uh, the primacy of the human bonds
Hmm.
must continue to prevail.
Yeah,
That's what's being lost,
yeah.
is exceptions of more and more and more, and the intensity of a child, an infant reaction to that light, to the screens, I mean, just instant
Hmm.
interest usually. And so lots of parents think, oh, it's going great. Give, I can do my work and the child is on whatever the cartoons or, the children are introduced way, way too early.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned we talked, I think, a lot about attention and focus just in the context of young parents making that a priority. And by the way, I'm not saying, you know, don't be on your phone ever, but I think we're both saying the same thing, which is make those intentional times and spaces for connection. So just to sidebar that. But let's go back to attention and focus for a second. Why is attention and focus important for brain health? So, we can frame it, I think, in the context of adults, which is your focus.
Uh, and my response to that is not going to go into the brain.
Okay.
That is not where I go. But just like all areas of development, the notion that chaos or rapid multitasking, the sense of what was thought to be just, it's possible to accomplish so much more by the use of technology. And now we can see the challenges left and right to that thinking, that the healthy brain, the developing brain for a child, needs to be able to have the quiet, the calm, and in my view, also the human interactions that are being lost as children are using technology younger and younger. And then you have families who are they're all on an iPhone, but the relationships are not coming back and forth reciprocally, building the continuity through conversation, through what this all the stages of development. They are now being transferred to a piece of technology, and the attachments are being transferred often. The knowledge exists in the phones. It exists out there, not in me, and not being internalized. All of this is going to work with the brain. That's not something I could tell you about how that happens or what happens, but the evidence is out there about the damages in various ways,
Yeah.
for children children into adults.
Okay. Well, I know that you're an addiction specialist for a very long time. So this next question is going to be a loaded question. Do you think technology is addictive and why? And I guess we'll narrow that down to modern screen technology.
Yes, that's loaded. No, it's not loaded. Yes, it is. It operates in the same way as any other addiction. I think really people don't like to think that it's easy to be addicted.
Hmm.
And as Americans particularly, but as we want more and inflate our sense of entitlements and all of that, there's more and more sense then I can have what I want. There's a real we've been through, I don't know if we're going to get out of it, but we've been through, I think, a cultural, very difficult time culturally, as with the development of technology, of sense of there are no limits. If technology has no limits, then I won't have any limits. But
Hmm.
that does not follow. That does not follow. And that's a tremendous problem for people
Hmm.
who might have to close off their screen at night and go home, and they can't do it. If the screen can keep going, why can't I? There's so many psychological problems along with the addiction. I've got to have more. I've got to be on it. I can't finish. And then the anxiety that develops along with that as part of an addiction. So see
Yeah.
it left and right at any age. Doesn't take long to get hooked.
Yeah. I can't remember who said this now, but there was some expert had classified it as we are cacti in a world of plenty, if that makes sense to you. In other words,
Mm.
our Paleolithic brains are still not adapted to just the plethora of access that we can have today. And that reminds me of what you're saying. I don't know if that resonates with you.
Well, it doesn't to the degree I think that you must have come from that, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
We are not a computer mind.
Yeah.
We cannot increase our speed to limitless, but we are told we can in a certain way, or we believe we want to be as fast to harness the information, but no one can.
Yeah.
No one can. And what I'm finding, and this is not new, but what I'm finding no is human beings are feeling less and less competent,
Yeah.
confident, because the great knowledge is not within them.
That really resonates. I mean, other experts have talked about, just this feeling of being incapable, which is what
Right.
I hear you saying.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
a very tough feeling, right? As a
That's
child.
right.
And, other experts have talked about the failure to launch epidemic, right? Where kids are just not feeling equipped, to go out into the world. So I think what you're saying is
Exactly.
really resonating with
It's
those ideas. Yeah.
absolutely. And the kids don't know where they're going
Yeah.
because they've been using their technology all the way through now.
Yeah.
This cohort of young people who are growing up were natives in the sense of native speakers on technology, but where are they going to go? What's going to happen? There's a tremendous insecurity.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think I'll jump to the my last question, which is because you mentioned your grandmother, a proud grandmother. So how do you think technology has affected intergenerational relationships? I mean, you've talked about, I suppose, the passing of knowledge a little bit, but I know this is a really personal
It is.
subject to you, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
The computers drive anything that's going to happen. So I want to say, um, uh, without savvy parents, and there's not too many in the world, I don't think, in terms of people, parents who are concerned and see the need for parents to be available to their kids even more than ever in our history, because otherwise the kids and the parents are all turning to be families who use technology together.
Hmm.
Now, I want to say we're talking about the problems here developmentally and all. And I also have seen and heard terrific shout outs of the good of technology.
Yeah.
The global world can actually come into being with a lot of problems, but nevertheless, if technology allows a lot of families to continue to see and connect with one another, uh, in the research I did with the grandmothers, some grandmothers wanted to come to these focus groups because they wanted to represent how good it is for families to be able to stay in connection. And no doubt about it. But we need parents who still see themselves as responsible, and they haven't got the mentality that they're too busy trying to get ahead to working parents so that they continue to outsource the care of their children to the
Hmm.
technology, to others in their communities who might be on technology as well. This is strikingly clear
Hmm.
that the world is much more favorable to pushing adults to work, and
Hmm.
your kids will be fine. What we need to challenge that attitude, that belief. It's not correct. So parents need to go back, return to, if they've left it, the times. This was, we were talking about the mother figure and the nursing and the closeness. Family time, that's real family time without technology. The kinds of growing up together experiences that are absolutely normal. So we're not going to be hearing a late teenager say, "Hey, mom cooked dinner tonight. What's up?" And that's a quote that everybody was laughing about,
Yeah.
because everything familial or working in the family framework can become things we just have to push off. We just have to grab dinner. We have to eat standing up because we have work to do. This attitude it's just cumulative, so that it's like a runaway train.
Yeah.
Not only is it speedy, but the relationships are becoming emptier,
Mm-hmm.
isolation. Uh, Young people, their families feel you're going to have to raise yourself. There's such emptiness and isolation expressed by many who talk about what they feel, what they experience. Grandmothers saw that they are absolutely necessary, especially the fortune for those who live close. They are necessary third generation, and they want to go back to that. That's what they're saying. They
Mm-hmm.
see their roles as the keeper of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That's a quote. The job of a grandparent is relationship. The
Yeah.
work is to fill the holes of neglect and attachment. The holes. That
Yeah.
is an actual quote as I'm going through my material here.
Yeah.
Whoa. Grandmothers saw themselves as necessary to fill those holes. That's the time we were just talking about, the time
Mm-hmm.
that I'm hoping parents will, see very clearly and very soon, the need to return to the value of time with children,
Yeah.
however they're going to do that.
Yeah. I
Because it
think
doesn't exist now in many, many careers.
right. I think you're so right that it's a such much bigger societal issue, like even beyond technology. And we saw it with the COVID uh, crisis, right? Where
Right.
everybody was forced to slow down and spend time, but then very quickly it replaced with, Zoom on school and parents being expected to do so much, right? They were expected to work at home, but also be with their kids on Zoom and also be their caregiver because you couldn't get a
Right.
babysitter during
Right.
COVID. So it's a very, very, I don't blame parents. I mean, I think there's so much pressure on parents now. Everything you're describing, they have to work so hard, yet they
Right.
have to do everything for their kids. And it's just an impossible
Right.
formula.
That's
So
right.
I think you're so right that it's a bigger societal question that we
Oh,
need to, you know,
cultural, universal, and I just don't even want to blame anybody.
yeah.
I challenge the right or wrong, the binary frame, so that, wait, is there a family somewhere where everybody's doing well with all of this?
Hmm.
Yes, yes. Well, how do we understand that? Because there's so much stress and pressure in the families who are understanding and having time with their kids. The pressures do not stop.
Hmm.
And certainly that's in my area, that's in
Hmm.
urban areas, but the story of the technology taking such a prominent organizing role in everyone's lives,
Hmm.
that no matter where you go, that's it. The new attachment. Oh, I don't, uh, uh, I can, I can be okay because I have my phone and whatever I'll be doing on it.
Hmm.
Very problematic. Let me tell you a couple conclusions that were
Yeah.
really clear in my work on addiction. the developmental theories and what happens in recovery, and the addiction as an attachment disorder, which is what how I one definition that I found very useful. You get stuck on it. You get attached to it, so you want it, and then you need more, and then you gotta have it. That's exactly what happens with people and their relationship to their technology.
Mhm.
Then what happens often is that kids particularly start getting yelled at to get off of it, or
Yeah.
don't, you got to have an open door. The parents get that they need to be more engaged and provide limits. That's absolutely true. They also need to have a family core of whatever that is going to be, that is not technology, but a
Mhm.
family core, values, background. Who are we? The way that families, forever until 40 years ago, I guess, the way that families knew each other, who they were, what they did together. Uh, and and they did it. They did it because we didn't have technology. So there was no trade in for that, trading the attachments from humans, and who we are. So we need to um, take technology from this central organizing principle in all of our lives.
Mhm.
The central organizing principle, which then dominates, informs, shapes, and we're just helpless to do anything. We
Mhm.
need to actively move technology to become a tool
Yeah.
with authority, individual authority and family authority, returned solidly to parents, adults who will be the authorities in a family. Otherwise, kids are becoming the authority because they're the experts in the technology. It's
Mhm.
a source of radical problems
Yeah.
because uh, the kids can help solve the technology problems. That that can go on. Technology is a tool, and it's
Mhm.
a wonderful tool. What
Yeah.
we've done is allow it to become object of choice.
Yeah. Another expert put it very simply and said, a healthy relationship with technology, and I'm paraphrasing, is one where we're in charge of the technology and not the other way around. So
Exactly.
I'm
That's
hearing the
it.
same thing. Yeah.
That's it. Right.
Yeah.
But in charge of it, so that uh the being in charge means then that we are at the center of family policy, and then we have all kinds of tools.
Yeah.
But in this society, there is such pressure
Hmm.
to let go of one's authority. One of the grandmothers in one of my focus groups said, "What happened to Dr. Spock?" We used to add. Do you know who Dr. Spock is?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Star
What
Trek,
happened?
of course.
Exactly. Well, no, actually, Dr. Spock was a pediatrician who wrote the books about proper child rearing in the
Oh, sorry.
1940s. And yeah, right. See? Well, you had to be a grandmother to come to one of these groups, and you knew Dr. Spock. We, as grandmother, in the age of grandmothers, and I am, love it. But there were usually male authorities who told the mothers in the 40s and 50s, 60s, and those Spock books are still around, just exactly what you needed to do with your baby. And
Hmm.
there was a lot of rigidity there, but a lot of the grandmothers that I was talking with said, "Who tells us what we can do? There are no authorities anymore. People that
Hmm.
don't need them. The authority is vested in Siri
Yeah.
or the other systems. We don't need Dr. Spock anymore. The pediatrician.
Yeah.
We don't
Not the
need
Star Trek
him to
character.
tell us what's right, because we can just Google it, or we can look it up.
Yeah.
I can find any answer I need to know. So therefore, I don't need to know it, since I
Hmm.
can find it. It's a whole different sense about what's competence. If you
Hmm.
don't need to learn anything, wait a second. You know, what happens then if you don't have the answer, the source of answers close by? Oof.
Yeah.
But the idea then, I don't have to work, that also, I think, has fed into the notion that the primary goal is to be entertained.
Hmm.
Uh-oh, we are really in trouble because that's a bend toward passivity. I'm
Hmm.
just going to press a button and something wonderful will fill me up.
Hmm.
Wait a second. I'm hearing this is an abandonment now of a desire for knowledge, a love of knowledge. This could be an abandonment. As a child says, well, I don't have to clean up. No, we just use somebody else takes care of everything, and I'll sit back.
Hmm.
These grandmothers 7 years ago get loads and loads of quotes about from their grandchildren and their technology, and it reflected this sense. The entertainment is what we seek in life. That's a huge problem. What
I mean, I'm optimistic, and I hope you are too, as a grandmother, that well, the
I,
pendulum will come back, right, the other way. So, and your work, I think, will be a big part of that. I hope. So, thank you so much for everything you do, and thank you for taking the time today. I really, really appreciate it.